New at 10, long-forgotten soldiers from Vietnam are fighting another undeclared war.
Yeah, decades after their service, they're sick from Agent Orange. Now, you might think that they're getting benefits since they were exposed to the herbicide while fighting in the field. Fox Files investigator Chris Hayes has the story of old soldiers with new wounds and a government choosing to ignore them. Chris?
Rafer and Sandy, one of those former airmen's jobs during Vietnam was to detonate defective bombs. He often wondered if he'd live to see the next second. He didn't know then the invisible threat surrounding him. Decades later, he's learning his past is killing him. 1969, Utapao Airfield, Thailand, home of the B-52, a bomber that carried more than 100 bombs. Bill Casto was in charge of getting rid of some of them.
Utapao had the largest munitions dump in Southeast Asia.
He took defective bombs outside the base to an area cleared of vegetation by the tactical herbicide called Agent Orange. That's him. He was 20 years old. It was not the herbicide that scared him.
Because of the shrapnel that's involved when you detonate a bomb, we would dig a hole with a bulldozer. We would place the bombs and any other explosive ordnance we were required to dispose of down in a hole.
No matter how far they went to trigger the detonation, he said they could feel the shockwave.
They would tell us when it was clear. Otherwise, we run a risk of blowing one of our own airplanes out of the sky.
Now, 46 years later, he suffers from at least two diseases the VA says are connected to Agent Orange: type 2 diabetes and peripheral neuropathy. Yet the same government that once waved flags in Casto's honor now waves erasers at his benefits.
Deny until you die. It's what we say.
67 years old and hooked to oxygen, he suspects the VA may be waiting him out.
There's thousands of us in the same boat. Thousands of us.
He says friends are surprised and assume the government acknowledges Agent Orange hurt Vietnam soldiers.
But because we served in Thailand and never had our boots on the ground in Vietnam, we're treated differently. For instance, you know, if you could prove that you set one foot on the ground in Vietnam, you're able to get the benefits of being exposed.
This declassified report, called Project Checo, documents that herbicides were employed in base defense in Thailand. The problem, Attorney Ken Karp says,
it's not the only one,
is telling the government about its own documentation.
If you all left a room and I had a conversation with that wall, and there was no echo in the room whatsoever, it would be comparable to that. Because they don't care.
Karp is a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel who's seen many frustrating VA cases.
And no matter how many times you tell them, okay, here are the receipts that show I submitted to you 6 times before, well, we don't have it, so we need to start again.
That's what it takes, repeated persistence, telling the same story to a different VA rep. It worked for Gary James, who, like Casto, served at Utapao in Thailand.
It took a little over 5 years, because it was several apply, get rejected, reapply, get rejected.
He said he used pictures showing where he worked and repeatedly pulled the government's own documentation of tactical herbicides like Agent Orange.
It took some kind of, legal double talk to actually get him to listen to my claim.
Casto is dealing with a different VA office.
And the ammo dump is over here.
As he tries to prove the same case before he dies.
They ask us, and to come, to the aid of our country, and we did it gladly. The Vietnam War was not very popular, obviously, but we did it, and we never thought they'd turn their back to us later in life.
Casto says he's not been able to even get the VA to set up an appeal hearing for him. The VA told me it cannot talk about his case without a waiver.
Will he sign one, Chris?
He will. I should note the VA's asked for one before. I got the widow of a veteran to sign one, and the VA still didn't talk.
All right, Chris, thanks so much.